for me this year was that like nothing great was ever accomplished by someone who was afraid to try because of what they thought other people would think or say about them. So that was number one. The second one is that I feel like the longer that I've been in this game, the more I feel like mental toughness matters more than motivation. And so mental toughness comes down to four things, which obviously when my mother died, I had to think through like, how am I going to respond to this obviously negative event in my life? And she died all of a sudden. No one thought it was going to happen. It was just very fast, which in some ways I can be very grateful for, right? She didn't have like a long suffering period. And so there are four things that I think happen when any negative event occurs, something against your preferences, something bad, is that the first level is how much bad stuff can happen before you force it to change the way you live. The second component is, okay, something rattles you enough that you change the way you behave. Once you change the way you behave, basically how upset do you get? How low do you go? Somebody who's more mentally tough would take longer to get upset. And then if they do get upset, they do snap, they only change their behavior a tiny bit. That's it. So they're not like, oh, I'm going to go start taking heroin and I'm going to go cheat on my wife and I'm going to go, drive drunk. They're like, I might have some ice cream tonight, right? And then once they're on that negative path, the next level of our element of mental toughness is how fast do you come back, which is resiliency. How fast do you rebound back to where you were? Are you somebody who, someone says a cross word to you, old school cross, right? Something mean to you. And then you let it bother you for a week, you let it bother you for 2 weeks, a month before you rebound. Even if it was a small thing and a small change of behavior, if you have low resiliency, it just takes you a long time to get to baseline. And then the fourth element is when you do rebound, how much do you rebound? Do you just rebound below where you were? Did it by the way, that's a traumatic event. It permanently changed your behavior. Do you get back to baseline? So it didn't permanently change you, was not traumatic. Or you go above baseline, you adapt, you're better than you were before the bad thing happened, which by the way, also traumatizes you. Because for those of you who hear this all over social media, translate the word trauma into a permanent change in behavior from an aversive, bad stimulus, thing that happened. So trauma means that you just change. You permanently change the way you act when something bad happens. Is there a world where you can change how you act permanently, where you behave better than you did before? Yeah, many of you, many humans, not the current generation, let's say a generation or two back, were traumatized by your parents many times, sometimes with a belt, sometimes with a hanger, sometimes with a spoon, sometimes with a hand, sometimes with a shoe or a slipper, sometimes with your head, who knows? The point is that you did something, you got smacked, and then you permanently stopped doing that. They traumatized you. Was trauma bad in that situation? No. It's only bad if it permanently changes your behavior in a way that is against the type of person that you want to be or the types of behaviors that you prefer to act in or do. And so when I thought about those things and I was forced this year to actually define what is mental toughness? People throw this out a lot. How can I measure this? And then if I can measure it, then it means that I can improve it. And so when someone says, hey man, toughen up or get mentally tougher, now at least you have 4 variables that you can think of in your mind. I want to take longer for something to change the way I act. If it does change the way I act, I want it to change it as little as possible. And if I notice that my behavior has changed, I want to rebound as quickly as I can as soon as I notice that it changes. And then not only that, I want to be better for it.